And we are very excited to be talking about Zimbabwe football at the highest level. Joined today on the Nikki show by Mr. Nqobile Magwizi. He is the ZIFA President. Very good day to you. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Nikki, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
And good day to the viewers as well.
Now,
Very happy to be here.
of course, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
I think that we'll start off by just talking about, I know enough for you, Q, and these are our family and colleagues from your very closest meeting and setting. Let's talk a bit about your upbringing and also where you've come from.
That's a long story. I would might go over the limited time that we have, but I'll just try to summarize. Nqobile Magwizi, I'm the last. Apparently, in the family of many children, I have a number of siblings, past 28. Grew up in a very big family, surrounded by my sisters, surrounded by my older brothers. Grew up in Gokwe initially, and then attended a primary school there called Chegama Primary School. Went to another one there called Gwehava Primary School. Then came to Harare, went to a primary school called Mofu. From Mofu Primary School, I then had a stint at Mount Pleasant High School. From Mount Pleasant High School, I then went to Prince Edward High School. And then, of course, went into the tertiary education space. I did my ACCA, did my UNISA, then, of course, went on to do another program with Southwood University, which has a master's in international banking and finance. Then, of course, did something else in Stellenbosch. That's on the education side. Mm-hmm. But in terms of business, I also ran a business after having worked for a few years. I started a business in advertising. There was a company I was involved with, Tattoo Advertising, and we ran that until in 2019 when I stepped down as the CEO to become the chairman. And that has been an exciting journey for me because it opened up a lot of opportunities. I remember one year we did the Miss Tourism World with a guy called John Singh. We even went to Tanzania to do that show. And one of the guys who was actually the MC there was, I think, Teach Matters,
Blaz or Blaz.
Yeah, it was interesting. But we had one installment of it here in Harare at the International Conference Center. That was in 2005, if I remember well, So it's been quite a journey. But my childhood really was amazing, growing up in a huge family.
Of 28, you say?
Well, I mean, my dad had, married more than one wife.
Okay.
So we were such a big family. So, and I have my siblings, and so there's quite a lot of fun within this whole setup.
Now, I'm going to talk about the shift from building brands in the marketing sector to then becoming the ZIFA president. And you have passed your 100-day mark.
Yes.
And possibly have been in office for over 7 months.
6
months, that is. Let's talk about the tenure so far, some of the challenges that you have faced, and of course, new territory, I would like to say. Mm-hmm. What have been some of the highs and lows?
I think the job or the task of establishing an institution so that it's respectable and delivers on its promises is not a walk in the park. I mean, by and large, it's actually heavy lifting because you're trying to build a new culture. And to build a new culture, it requires a lot, firstly, of resources and, of course, commitment from everyone who's involved in that process. We came into office on the 25th of Jan, and of course, we're coming from a situation where the Normalization Committee had been running football. And the Normalization Committee, of course, had done their best because we had come out of, firstly, the suspension, and then they came in and they did what was important at that time, until such a time that we had held elections which brought in the new executive. Now, with the new executive, it meant we are starting from scratch to put the structures that will help carry Zimbabwean football forward. And so you're looking at establishing the skills of everybody who is within the team. Do we have the requisite skills to transform the organization to where it's supposed to go? So we had to do an HRN skills audit, which was completed, and now we're implementing the findings. Of course, some will probably have to, to go home, but some we have to employ, some we have to capacitate and train a bit more so that we can be able to deliver. So that's one area. But the other area, of course, is that of funding. Because when we came in, we had not yet submitted the audited financials of the association. So we're under restricted funding, meaning that funds were not coming to our association freely. So we had to find alternative ways to fund our operations. And now it's not an easy task to fund an association from well-wishers and so forth. It requires you to really dig deep, to find the resources to keep things moving, to make sure that salaries are paid, to make sure that all the trips that are required are done, to make sure that allowances for players are paid. So it's heavy lifting. And
something that's very interesting is that the notion is that ZIFA will receive money from FIFA.
Absolutely. So there is allocation. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because a lot of Zimbabweans don't understand fully how the FIFA funding structures work. So I'll explain this to you in a very, in a very quick way. Annually, FIFA gives a grant to football associations across the world. For Zimbabwe, we get 1,250,000. This is for our operations, to cover all our operations.
That's an annual fee.
That's an annual fee. Now, it should pay salaries, it should pay the bills, it should pay all the fuel needs, the electricity, and all that. Now, you will agree with me, to run a national association on such a budget, that money is not enough. So a lot of associations, they get additional funding from other sources. I'll give, for an example, the Kenyan Football Federation. They receive an additional 40 million US from their government to fund football. South Africa, they get maybe about 6 million rand, I think, but of course they have quite a number of sponsors. So as an association, over and above the grant you get from, say, FIFA, you then get an additional amount from government, if they have made a provision for that, and the sponsors that can come on board and give you the additional funding. So that's how these associations are funded. But over and above that, to the credit of FIFA, there's a structure which they call the FIFA Forward Program. The FIFA Forward Program is a grant that is specific to a program that has been approved. Say you want to build a field, a pitch, football pitch, and it's going to cost you $200,000 and you want to put this pitch in Cholocho. There is money that is allocated after every World Cup by FIFA to all the associations or federations across the world. Out of these allocations, so there is what we call, like previously it was FIFA Forward 3, there was a FIFA Forward 2, FIFA Forward 1, there's going to be FIFA Forward 4. They allocate the money, they make a decision that we are going to allocate maybe this 1 billion right across all federations for projects. So you apply for this money to say, we want to build a field. Then you submit it, it's approved. When it's approved, then they allocate the resources specific to that project, and they will come and audit the project to ensure that the money has been deployed specifically to that project which you applied for.
So for transparency.
For transparency.
And accountability.
But this is for specific projects. But for the operations of the association, FIFA will only give you 1,250,000. And I think it can help. It does a lot of work.
It does.
Can you imagine if it was not there? It means you have to look for all this, money by yourself. So it's very, very helpful. Then CAF, of course, has been putting a budget of 250 towards the football associations. So this is the makeup. But of course, when there are tournaments, and if you win a tournament, there's money that comes with that. But as you know, as Zimbabwe, we have not been in that space where we've been winning tournaments, participating a lot in qualifying. So it's been, of course, a bit of a challenge. So in the first 6 months, it was really, really tough. A lot of heavy lifting, trying to bring the stakeholders together so that they can, buy into the vision. And of course, the transformation of the culture that you desire for the association. You're trying to change all this. And you're, of course, with your colleagues, who, of course, have been amazing, the executive committee, working very hard, and for the most part, without any allowances, but committed. At a minimum, 4-hour meetings every month, but over and above that, committee meetings happening. And this is a lot of sacrifice. And I would say we can only get better as we go into the future. But the first 6 months have been exciting. But we are only encouraged to do more.
Now, you know that the fans have a very, very important buy-in into our local football. And I guess results is what the fans want.
Yeah.
When you have had interactions with the players, and maybe in your reviews and those meetings, what have been the critical issues that need to be addressed to then possibly raise morale, if it is a morale issue, in your opinion?
So, you see, the football journey is not one which can, happen within a click of a button, because you see, the whole ecosystem needs to be fixed from the bottom up, from the grassroots all the way up. So it's a culture thing, but at the same time, we need to be systematic in the way we do things. We are still playing the qualifiers, and definitely I would love to win any day. I mean, as the president of the FA, my desire is for all Zimbabwean teams to be winning every day. But I'm also aware that we are starting to rebuild. We are building the foundation. And to build the foundation, you need to make sure that you get the correct cement, you get the correct steel, you get the correct stones, and all the aggregates that are required so that the foundation is strong. And for football, having a correct foundation, make sure that you have the correct grassroots structures. Your secretariat is structured properly. If in its organogram, it feeds into the vision which you desire to accomplish. Now, we are at that point where we are saying we are digging, and it's heavy lifting to ensure that the foundation is solid. We are looking to, of course, we've been fortunate because we played Benin in South Africa. We drew with them. We also went to Nigeria. We drew with them at their home ground, which was
phenomenal.
That was very good.
That was phenomenal.
Yeah. But we need to be consistent in our performance. And I know that it's a process that we have to be working on a consistent basis to be able to deliver the results expected by the fans. So right now, we are aware. We've put our best foot forward. We've said, look, under the circumstances, what do we do? Let's go ahead and look into our other Zimbabwean communities for talent. Yes, we have talent that we've recruited locally, fair and fine, but let's also look in the UK. So we did the trip to the UK with the coach, the coach did some scouting, and he's added a few players so that we are ready. Come the qualifiers, he has enough talent. There's 4 remaining qualifiers for the FIFA 2026, but we also have AFCON, which we're preparing for. We need to make sure that we have all the players that we need to be able to perform well. So these are stopgap measures which we are putting in place as short-term strategy. But the longer-term strategy, a solid foundation for football right across the Zimbabwe, functioning youth leagues, functioning youth tournaments for all age groups from under 9, all the way up, a technical development structure that is impeccable, that ensures that no talent goes unnoticed right across the country. And we get our under 17s participating in all tournaments, our under 20s participating in all tournaments, ensuring that the future, come 2030, we have a solid Warriors team on the men's side, a solid Mighty Warriors team on the women's side.
Something that's very interesting is about you're talking about games. You talked about us playing in Benin, against Benin, and also Nigeria. And I think that we've got one more home game. Two.
Yes.
Right. Would love to play home. Would love to watch a
Absolutely,
home game.
that's all our dream.
We want to be cheering. We want to be home. We want to carry the spirit through.
If there's anybody who desires that to happen, it's me.
What is this? What is the state of the National Sports Stadium now?
You know,
where are we?
Yeah, well, I think there is a lot of work happening. But even before I give you more information on that, I think I, of course, want to really express my gratitude to the government of Zimbabwe and its partners. I know the government did sign an MOU with Sakunda for the bucket seats, which have already been installed. And I'm grateful to the government for that. Our role really as ZIFA is to continue to lobby the government, lobby the partners that are involved, because that's the National Sports Stadium is a government asset. And of course, we are the beneficiaries.
Yeah.
But as the beneficiaries, our role is to lobby those that can make the home of football, you know, a place where we could really start playing more matches. So right now, there is the pitch that's being attended to, the water reticulation system that's being attended to. Of course, there's the turnstiles that are being installed. But my desire is for this work to be finished by yesterday, so that we can have access to the National Sports Stadium. But I'm also confident that the government is doing everything possible. I heard the finance minister speaking last week, midterm, report. He did speak about the project, that we are really putting all that we can to finish the project.
We don't have dates though, no timelines so far.
You see, as a lobbyist who's pushing for the job to be done, I might not have the exact timelines. But what I can tell you right now is that if you go to the National Sports Stadium, there is quite a lot of work that is taking place. So as I've already said, the pitch, is being worked on, and I'm sure within another week or so, they should be done and probably watering it. There is the toilets that are being fixed, the changing rooms which are being fixed, the turnstiles which are being fixed as well. There's also going to be need for lighting, that has to be replaced. But all this, I'm confident that before the end of the year, we should be done. Not speaking as an expert, but speaking as someone who desires for the National Sports Stadium to be ready. I'm hoping that before October, we should be able at least to play a match. So there's 2 home games, one with South Africa and one with Rwanda. So the one with Rwanda is the one that we've spoken of, which is coming in on the 9th of September. And this will be happening, of course, we've already made a decision that we have to go to Orlando in the event that our stadium is not ready. But I'm praying that October we should be ready. Then we can play Rwanda here.
We'll be so excited.
Oh, of course. And ZIFA will make money as well. At least
course.
A bit of money to incentivize the players and, of course, make all these things work. Yeah.
And carry through the national spirit, which is something that we want. Now, you have made mention of developing women's football in the country. Look, over the years, previous administrations, let's not delve into previous administrations, but over the years, there have been challenges associated with the Mighty Warriors. And also talking about it at a level where they have done exceptionally well in some tournaments.
Now, if you talk about a team which has done very well in Zimbabwe, our Mighty Warriors went to Rio de Janeiro.
Oh, yes.
They qualified to the Olympics.
Oh, yes.
That's the biggest qualification, or the highest achievement by any football team.
What are we doing to develop and support women's football?
So there's quite a number of things we have done as an executive since we came in. One of the first things we did, of course, was to review how we handle our women as we go for tournaments or when we go for assignments. So in terms of allowances, the EXCO made a decision to make adjustments. There's also been the need how they travel. Very important, so we make sure that they must travel comfortably with the necessary safeguarding protocols being observed fully. Those issues are very, very important. We've also made sure that we've brought on board sponsors to just assist. Some of the sponsors have come on board to assist with sanitary wear, basic things, just to make sure that our ladies are comfortable as they are representing their country. We have been working on a strategy for women football development. There is a young lady from FIFA, Tuba. She's the one who's driving this role, working together with our VP, Loveness Mkura. So we're developing a more comprehensive strategy for women football, which we are going to roll out, which will be, of course, part of the broader strategy that we have for Zimbabwean football. And I'm hoping that this strategy, if adopted by Congress, can carry us through for the next 10 years as a country. This strategy is very important because it then unlocks more resources from FIFA to ensure that we carry out activities around women football, be it tournaments, be it capacity building. We will have those necessary resources because there's a strategy we are following. So we have already started that work. We went around the country, meeting all the stakeholders, and I must say, it was an eye-opening exercise. And of course, one of the things that we are also doing on the women is we are discussing with the University of North Cumbria in the UK to actually start a program where we are building capacity around women, especially on issues of physical fitness and on diet as well, because it matters. We want to bring the science, but focusing more on how we can improve our women athletes who are playing football. So that science aspect, in partnership with North Cumbria University and the MSU, is going to help us. But these are all long-term projects that we're working on, but whose results will probably be seen maybe next year, mid-next year. People will be able to start seeing the impact of that work.
Talking about the future, grassroots development, very important. We've got a generation of footballers who are doing their part. At some point, they've got to go. And we need to develop grassroots football. Let's look at the strategies that you've also implemented.
Oh, yeah. So right now, what we have finalized is the strategic framework for the association. So it's a framework which sort of gives us the direction. We have our vision, our mission, and then our strategic focus areas, which we have all agreed as EXCO. And these, of course, have been told to all members of Congress. What is critical, though, is to have a technical foundation, development foundation, which is really, it has to be driven by your technical head of technical within the association. We have sought, as an association and EXCO, to identify the next head of our technical development. And that process is ongoing. Maybe within a week or two, we'll probably make an announcement. That person's role is to design the pathways. You can call them maybe more like a pathway architect for football, because you then come up with a structure on how football will be played by a young child who's 6 years and how they can achieve a feat of being like a Ronaldo when they go professional or become elite. So it creates the pathway, and the head of technical development ensures that there is necessary competitions which the talented people must go through, and we monitor them and we take them from one place to the next, elevating them until such a time that they can become, an elite player, globally recognized. So that's basically what we are working on. So right now, we've already started ensuring that at provincial level, we're having structures. Possibly we will end up with a provincial technical director who reports to the national head of technical development. So each province it will have that structure, and we'll make sure that we have teams, provincial teams at every level. But over and above that, even leagues that are national, but for the young people within the grassroots. And then that's where we'll harvest all our talent to get into the under-21s and, of course, the national team.
And further develop.
Of course.
Yes. I know that ZIFA recently conducted design a battle for the Warriors jersey.
Design, yeah.
And there were a lot of, I know there was an online competition.
Yes, yes.
Where you also had adjudicators, independent adjudicators, who were going to determine who was the winner. From different circles, there were people who had their reservations regarding that. Maybe you could explain the criteria and also the pros and cons. You know why? Because also from a funding perspective, you'll have a lot of international teams, a lot of teams rather, benefiting from a standard name, for an example, and getting their funding from that sponsor. Now, having changed that criteria, what are you aiming to achieve and what are the benefits?
Yeah, so generally there is big brands, that the global brands like your Nikes, your Adidas, your Under Armour, those are the big brands. Nigeria once has a contract with Nike. They ran a campaign a few years back, and I have actually reached out to these companies. I did reach out to Nike in the United States, and I had a chat with them. They then asked me, what is the population of Zimbabwe? Then I told them, no, we are almost 17 million. I said, 17 million with the numbers we can work with is too small. That was for them to come on board and be the kit sponsor for the Warriors. They, of course, look at the numbers and say, do they make sense when they do the resale of the replica jerseys? For them, when they are looking at our population, they think it's really small. But for Nigeria, which is almost 200 million people, they're excited. So for us, it's always going to be very difficult to get any of the big brands to come on board with a proper structure to fund the activities of our association, of our national team. Because in their minds, they are also trying to make money. So a lot of times when you see us wearing another brand, it's probably we're just paying for everything. But the future now with the design battle is that we are creating our own brand. With our own brand, we can produce replicas or any other merchandise and sell it, because it's our what? It's our own brand. We can have our own distribution structures with our various partners, and the resources made out of those resales, we use them for the development of football in Zimbabwe. And that is the thrust. Now, coming back to the design battle, the brief, of course, was speaking to three things. Firstly, we're looking for the design of a brand. A brand. So a brand that would compete with, say, Nike, or a brand that would compete with an Adidas, Under Armour, or Puma. So we're looking for an icon. So the designer had to come up with that design. Firstly, that was the primary objective. The secondary one was, we then asked for the designer to apply that icon or that brand
On the jersey.
on kits, the home kit, the away kit, and the alternative kit. That was the request, second request. Then the third request was apply the same brand on any other merchandise so that we see how it looks. All right? So that was now, of course, whenever there is competitions, there's always expectations. But in brief, that was the summary of what was asked of the designers. Of course, one eventually made it. But I'll tell you, even the education team, very, very competent people. Dr. Sachikonye used to run DDBH3 here. He is now a professor at Manchester University. We had Eb Aisa, he's at Bacchus. We have Sachi Bachi, she's at the name has just run out, but she's running also an institution here and more than 20 years experience in that space. We have Brett Van Rooyen of Faithway. He used to run Faithway successfully, supplying kits for the national teams. So those were the adjudicators who were looking at all these brands to say which one would best make Zimbabwe succeed. So The results have been out. Of course, I have not been involved in the process. None of the executive committee members were involved, save for the adjudicators.
Now, so this will also go for the Mighty Warriors.
So that's our brand. So Zimbabwe now has a brand. This brand can be applied right across all the teams. All of them. So what we just need now to do is to have a business model which ensures we manufacture. What we manufacture, we then bring back to the market, use what can be used by our national teams, have replicas to sell into the market, and we can all proudly wear something that we are doing ourselves. You know, we have to do it ourselves. Nobody else will do it for us.
Something that is homegrown.
It's ours. You know, and you know what? It's not easy to always start from nothing. But when you build it and it succeeds, then you can celebrate. And our grandchildren will be looking at this brand and saying, this is our Zimbabwean brand.
Something that, it's PSL related.
Yes.
Right. So I'm going to ask you this question, and it is directed towards Magwizi.
Yes, yes.
Not the ZIFA President. No. But also football related. In the PSL right now, there have been concerns that have been raised by stakeholders, football fans, other persons who are within the football fraternity regarding the buying of players in the transfer window, where others have suggested that there is need for a level playing field with regards to buying of players. What is your personal opinion regarding this one?
So you're speaking to financial fair play, as it were.
Yes,
that's the issue. And looking at where we are coming from, I personally believe that we are not yet there at a place where we could make issues of financial fair play our primary focus. I'm not saying that we should not think about it or discuss this issue. Yes, it should be discussed. I think it's an important subject. We don't even want to undermine. It's a very, very important. But from where we are coming from a ban, where we then had COVID, and then we had the NC, and here we are starting to build again with the little excitement that we have within the PSL. Right now, the focus is not there yet. And by the way, I might not be misunderstood to say that it's not important. But right now, we are excited to just have investors coming into football. We are happy to have people that are willing to sacrifice resources and invest into football. Excited. Because at some point, we didn't have those people. And they could also decide not to be there. They could wake up tomorrow and say, no, actually, we don't want to be in this. So right now, we are focused on ensuring that we create a viable ecosystem first, which is functional. Once it becomes functional, then we look at these hygiene issues. It's okay. We have stadiums which are full. We have infrastructure that is functional. We have the fixtures which are being fulfilled on a regular basis. Now, how do we make it more hygiene? What are the things that we can tweak? Then perhaps,
from a regulatory perspective.
Yes, regulatory perspective. Okay, let's now regulate things. Oh, here's what we need. So for instance, right now on issues of club licensing, even previous years, they've not been so strict because recognizing how feeble the teams have been. But as we go into next 2026, our club licensing rules are going to be a bit firmer. For instance, we will expect teams to have a women's team. We'll expect them to have junior teams as part of club licensing. We expect them to have a proper policy on physical fitness and diet, and of course the science that comes with it. Those are the things we're expecting. And perhaps one of the things that we add on will be the issue of looking at how much we are spending on player transfers. But as I sit here, is that a priority?
At the moment?
At the moment, it's not. At the moment, I'm happy that there is investors that are coming into football. I'm very happy. And I want to applaud all the investors that are coming into football right now. And I want to encourage them to keep coming. And then once we have the critical mass, then we can look at how we can tweak where we need to tweak, regulate certain areas, of course, and come together. By the way, it's important. When people raise it, I think it's important. And of course, in due course, we will look at those issues. But now I want people to play football. I want the stadiums to be full. I want players to look forward to playing. I want players to feel that there's a livelihood out of football. And the new investors are doing that. They're inspiring the youth, the young people that are looking at the big teams that have come in with new investment. Their desires to play for that team. It's an inspiration. So at this point, I'm happy looking at what is happening. But the future, yes, those are the conversations that we have, because it's one community, one football community.
Indeed, indeed. Now, as we say goodbye, everything else that you're going to introduce as the president of ZIFA is also a legacy issue for you. What does the future hold?
That's a very tricky question, Nikki. But what we desire, to be honest, in fact, I'm very passionate about this. I think one of the areas that I've studied has been issues on to do with development finance and how football can transform people's lives. Because football knows no age, knows no class, knows no tribe. That's the beauty of football. So what does the future hold? For me, I see a Zimbabwe that is united through football, where lives are changed, where there is better financial inclusion, because football has made it possible for people to participate in the greater space of financial inclusivity. That's what football can do. So that's the future I'm hoping we can achieve together in this generation. I'm very confident that we will be able to achieve it together.
Nqobile Magwizi, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Nikki.
And we've been talking to the ZIFA president and looking at football as a whole, and of course what the future has in store. Inclusivity, key, and we need a proud nation that comes together and is united by football. Until next time.